Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I know everyone is a little tired. We have a big lunch today. We had a lot of technical presentations. Right now, I'm going to discuss about Bitcoin. It's a topic I'm very passionate about. Not only about Bitcoin, but Bitcoin in Latin America and how it relates to malware. So it's a correlation of everything. I don't only try to analyze samples or show you technical details or show you why Bitcoin is good or not, but how everything fits in the picture together. So when I chose the title for my presentation, I thought about Anchorman, Will Ferrell's movie, about how everything is evolving so fast and escalating so quickly. So if you haven't seen this movie, see it. It's very funny. Okay, let's start with the presentation. Well, in the beginning we had Bitcoin. Here in this part of the graph, we see the different coins that we have at the moment. And as you can see, Bitcoin is the top cryptocurrency right now. We have Litecoin, we have Darkcoin, we have Dogecoin, we have a lot of cryptocurrencies. But Bitcoin being the first in the market, and I discussed this about in the paper about some economic principles behind this, the first mover advantage or the network effect, it's very popular nowadays. And as I was being briefed just before the presentation, PayPal is now accepting Bitcoins. The value is changing a lot these days, as I will talk later. But there are some pretty cool things about Bitcoin, and not only decentralization, privacy, or the speed at we can do transactions. There's also this. We can buy the weirdest thing with Bitcoin. I mean, I was just looking at the site where you can buy alpaca socks with Bitcoin, you can buy sweaters, you can buy a lot of things that nobody really cares about, but you can do it only with Bitcoin. So what's with that? But the community is really strong, and they feel like it's something that creates bonding, so they do these kind of things or swag to sell. So we also can mine the currency, so we can exchange our processing power for money. And I consider this an alchemist dream. I mean, translating processing power for money. You're translating in reality your electric bill for money. In the past, this was effective, this was profitable. Right now, mining the currency is not very profitable, at least at an amateur level. You can do it if you have an ASIC equipment on a FPGA or a mining farm, then it can become profitable, but nowadays it's not so much. Then this is what I want to highlight in this presentation. The Bitcoin, it's an alternative, especially in Latin America, where we have strict financial controls, where we have the local currencies that are being in effect or are affected by devaluation or devaluationary processes, the inflation that we have. So Bitcoin is seen by citizens as an alternative. They are looking for a way to escape the peso, to escape whatever currency they have, in order to have their earnings saved somewhere else. They want to escape the government, and Bitcoin is offering this, whether we like it or not. What else? Well, when it comes to security, I call this BYOB, being your own bank, which is not so easy. Users are adopting Bitcoin, but at the same time, they are becoming their own banks. They have to secure the Bitcoins. They need to be aware of the risks. They need to have a wallet. They need to encrypt it. And if they are using an exchange house, we know many of the incidents that happened, not only among us, but others. So it's not so easy being your own bank. I will talk about this in a future slide. But, okay, what's not so cool about Bitcoin? Well, this is a Dogecoin sweater, but I wouldn't consider it cool. You can buy these kind of things with the cryptocurrency. What else? It's a nightmare for tax agencies and governments. Why is that? Because they can't control it, and they are very afraid of this, because tax agencies depend on the honesty of the users with these cryptocurrencies. And as we know, this is not something feasible. Governments aren't so keen about it either. In Argentina, we are having anti-money laundering units being interested in Bitcoin because they want to learn how the citizens are buying this cryptocurrency in order to escape the tax agencies and the government. Because it is happening. This is not a prediction. It's happening right now. Illegal markets, they have come and gone. We know about Silk Road, Ship Market, and Bitcoin in conjunction with Tor, PGP, and other nice tools that we use every day. It's being adopted by cyber criminals and illegal markets in order to sell these kind of goods online. Then we have fraudsters and scammers that are changing their phishing campaigns in order to add just the word Bitcoin inside it. We have seen the Nigerian scam just adding the word Bitcoin, and you can see, wow, this is still working. I mean, it's unbelievable. The value volatility. This is something not cool. At the beginning of the year, we were around $800 per Bitcoin. This week, today, we are at 422. The value is extreme or highly volatile. But nevertheless, in Latin America, volatility is not an issue. For example, when I did this presentation, the peso was around 8 pesos for $1. Today I got a message from a friend that told me that I was going to be like in the terminal with Tom Hanks. When you come back, there isn't going to be any Argentina. Today the peso was, there were 16 pesos for $1. So volatility is something we're used to in Latin America. And then, as in the previous slide, storing your money is not easy. Users, especially in the emerging markets, are learning about Bitcoin, but also about security. And this goes hand in hand, but they can't deal with everything at once. And cyber criminals know this and know that they are buying Bitcoins, but they don't know how to secure them. Okay, we have the market capitalization. Until we reach the 21 million units that are deemed for Bitcoin in the year 2140, it's still a while. We don't know what the value will be at that time, but we know that the market capitalization keeps on growing. And cyber criminals are following these trends, and not only with Bitcoin. They are following with other cryptocurrencies, for example, Dogecoin, Litecoin, or Darkcoin. And why is this? I will talk about it in the next slide, but the reality is that not only Bitcoin means money for the cyber criminals. Other currencies can be translated to dollars or to other cryptocurrencies, so they are very eager to follow this kind of market capitalization graphics and daily values. And where there's money, there is crime, and they know this. And we have seen this, we have evidence about this, about the samples that we are seeing in our labs every day, that they are changing Bitcoin for Dogecoin. One day they are mining in a mobile device, the other day they are mining in a DVR, and the other day they are creating a wallet stealer. So they are changing their approach based on the value. This is not random. And this is what I mean that when I talk about that everything is related. The economy, the psychological part, and the malware. Everything is related. So, difficulty. Every n number of blocks in Bitcoin, the difficulty increases. So, when mining becomes unprofitable, cyber criminals resort to other currencies. I mean, we have seen, as I spoke previously, about mining malware, but wallet stealing right now is becoming the trend or the norm when it comes to cybercrime related to Bitcoin. So why is this? Because the difficulty with Bitcoin is so hard right now that even with a high gaming computer, you would still wouldn't make a dime. You would have to pay more for your electrical bill. Okay, Rickrolling the blockchain. I added this slide because I thought it was interesting on how Bitcoin changes our lives. So please read this tweet with me. Yeah, Rickrolling. And you can find inside the blockchain the entire lyrics for the Rick Astley song, Never Gonna Give You Up. Yeah, the entire song in the blockchain. But not only that, you can find the stoned virus in the blockchain. This was detected this year, and a lot of miners complained that they couldn't use Bitcoin because this was being detected. So no blockchain, no mining. We have Nelson Mandela pictures and quotes. We also have WikiLeaks and, cables and spy files, everything in there. There are even services like cryptography or crypto secret, which are used between couples to send like lover messages and things like that. This is now becoming automated, adding garbage inside the blockchain. But one question I want to ask with you, we have already received reports about people including child pornography inside the blockchain. What about when you download everything into your computer? Where do we stand on this legally? And this is something we need to keep researching, because I find extremely interesting that everyone is downloading the blockchain without knowing all the garbage that they are getting to. Okay. Yeah, I know the only guy that could withdraw funds from Mt. Gox. His name Chuck Norris. The rest of them couldn't withdraw a single cent. Yeah. So we have many attacks and vulnerabilities that can be done with Bitcoin. Mt. Gox blame transaction malleability bug because of a bad implementation on their software. But we also have, as I mentioned previously, illegal content in the blockchain. We have the 51% attack when, for example, mining pools have enough clients that they can overrun the network. They can choose if to accept or not a transaction. So this is a possible attack, although it needs a lot of processing power. Then we have denial of service, software vulnerabilities, and of course, malware. Yeah, Mt. Gox, this is an interesting case. The first incident that they reported was a rogue Hong Kong IP accessing one of their sites account and stalling the selling of a lot of Bitcoins, causing a price drop that was really devastating for the currency, because everyone lost the confidence in Bitcoin at that time. Then we saw in February this year that they blamed, as I mentioned previously, transaction malleability for their demise. In reality, and if you read other papers and research about the topics, this is highly unlikely. The reality is that we don't know what happened with Mt. Gox. But at the time, they were handling around 7% of all the Bitcoins in existence, and their closure left $500 million USD, American dollars, stolen. So that's a lot of money. And it was only one of the exchanges that suffered this type of incidents. We have other exchange houses, most of them suffering this type of attacks. I mean, attacks where we don't know what happened, or just suffering plain social engineering attacks. For example, there was Canadian Bitcoins, where a guy just called the data center and told them, hey, I need you to restart the server in safe mode. And they did, and they stole the Bitcoins because they were able to bypass all security measures. So this is the kind of security that exchanges had. I mean, and we used to consider them as banks. Banks have insurance, banks have security policies. The exchange houses didn't. Right now we are seeing a paradigm shift, hopefully for the better. But there are also other things in the Bitcoin scenario. For example, we have Ponzi schemes, like Bitcoin Savings and Trust, which was being managed by a guy called Pirate at 40. Before being called that way, it was called the Pirate Savings and Trust, and it promised 7% return weekly on your investment. Of course, this was a Ponzi scheme, and if you were the last to join, I'm sorry, you lost your money. Then the malware. I want to talk about this because of the relation between the price in Bitcoin and the type of malware that we see. So if we were to put the same graphic of the Bitcoin value on top of this, you would see it correlates when the value of Bitcoin decreases. You would see that the malware samples start focusing elsewhere. You would see them focusing on Dogecoin or Casino Coin, on other currencies that are becoming more adopted by the audience. In the same way that the difficulty increases, they are also resorting to other cryptocurrencies. This was a pretty simple malware that we've seen after Mt. Gox closed. This was just a leak that was filtered online. And it was a client that was supposedly to access the Mt. Gox details that were being leaked. And in reality, it was a wallet stealer and credential stealer. And why do I say this is very simple? Because it was sending the credentials just by using base64 encoding. And nevertheless, this still works. And this is something that amazes me. Nowadays, we are seeing this type of things still working. And wow. Again, we've seen when there's a data breach, we see that someone in Pastebin posts about, okay, give me your Bitcoins, I will sell you the database dump. In many cases, this is a scam. We've seen also phishing messages. Even after Mt. Gox closed, they will keep on phishing on the sites. So they were telling the users, okay, I know the site died, but I need your credentials to close it definitely. Why is that? Because many users reuse their credentials. So cybercriminals knew this, and they still kick a dead dog. They would still keep on beating the same thing. Then other types of simple scams, like, okay, USA is going to ban and shut Bitcoin. Okay, click here and get infected for free. Yeah. What about some interesting stuff? Okay. We have seen Internet of Things devices, which is a trending word, I don't like it. But we have seen, for example, DVR equipments or network-attached storage devices getting infected with miners. I mean, if you know the capacity of the processing power that these devices have, this makes no sense at all. I mean, when we calculated the hashing power of these things, you would get like 2 cents every other 3 months or something like that. You would pay more for your electric bill. Of course, if you are a cyber criminal, you don't care about this. But still, is it worth to do a mining malware for a DVR? I don't know. Then you would have Chrome extensions that would steal your wallet. Then, yeah, mobile applications that would offer you a wallpaper. Interesting wallpaper, don't know why. And they would check for your battery level. They would check if the phone was plugged in or not, and would start mining the currency, Bitcoin in this case. Then we had other samples targeting Dogecoin and Casino Coin. This was the Much Sad malware that also was used as a mobile miner. I don't know, still affecting the users, but in reality, the profits that you would get with this type of miners are pretty slim. Okay, and what happens when the cyber criminals get your hard-earned Bitcoins? Okay, they are gone, and they are gone forever. We've seen in Reddit some people moonlighting as private investigators. They are trying to follow the money. You know, you have the blockchain, it's public. You can follow the blockchain and you can see where the money has been moving. And you can say, oh, look, this guy has my money. And they started doxing people. They started releasing personal information, but Reddit told them, okay, you need to stop this. This is a witch hunt. You're releasing personal information on people that have nothing to do with these incidents. Your money is gone, accept it. And that's it. Okay, as I mentioned previously, when I started this presentation or this research, we had 10 pesos for $1. The dollar Messi, we call it in Argentina, 10 for 1. Right now we are 16 for 1. So what I want to highlight is how in Argentina, Chile, and other places in Latin America, we are seeing a desperate need for other currencies. And people are learning about Bitcoin because they are forced to. They want to escape the local currency. And I've seen like little papers on the train station where it said, "Join the revolution, buy Bitcoins." And you say, in Argentina? Yeah. So we have a very large market for illegal dollars. You know, Argentina has a history with this, but people are resorting to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. We have a foundation there that holds weekly meetings. The anti-money laundering unit is taking part of this. So this is something that is happening, and this is what I want you to take out of this, that Latin America is specific or has some characteristics different from the rest of the world. All Latin America is different, and we have this type of things happening right now. And if people are resorting to Bitcoin, cyber criminals are resorting to Bitcoin too. They are following the money. So we know that Argentinians and Latin Americans are using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. We need to follow it closely. Some people learned falsely, as I mentioned previously, mostly because of a ransomware infection. We have seen CryptoLocker, then BitCrypt, for example, included a wallet stealer. Then we have the Rebeton ransomware family that included a mobile miner. So cyber criminals are keen or are kind with us because we don't have dollars. So some of the time they offer discount rates because they know we can't buy the dollars. So this is interesting, but still, I've seen a lot of friends that ask me, what is a Bitcoin and where do I buy one? I have my files encrypted and I don't know what to do. And this is a reality, and people are learning because of this. Okay, so what do I hope for the future, or where are we standing right now? We are seeing that mining botnets are something that it's not so hot right now. We are shifting to wallet stealing because people don't trust the exchange houses, and with a good reason. I mean, some of them, like Sapo in Argentina that is launching right now, offers kind of an insurance like a bank, but others are still like ages behind. So people are saving their Bitcoins in their own home, maybe in a USB behind a mattress or a sofa. So this means that cyber criminals have it really easy, and it's a responsibility for all of us to provide protection to this type of malware, scams, phishing, to provide education, and to let them know what the threats are of using cryptocurrencies. As I mentioned in the first slide, of course, you have many cool things about Bitcoin, but there are also risks, and we are not in Kansas anymore. This is escalating pretty quickly, so we need to be aware, and we need to educate. Thank you.